April?
Yeah. Yes.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lori just said it's not on the PEG channel, but it is on YouTube, so. Yes.
Okay. Well, okay. Thank you for your patience. We were in an executive session, so we ran a little over. So tonight, I'm going to call into session common city council meeting of the City Council of Brookings, Oregon at 7:06 on February 12th, 2024. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And when you're ready, Brooklyn, we'll do roll call.
Counselor Malmberg.
Here.
Counselor Prada.
Here.
Counselor Martin.
Here.
Counselor Fulton.
Here.
Mayor Hodges.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Moving right along to ceremonies, appointments, and announcements. These are going to be done individually, so just as an FYI for everyone. So number one is to accept Skip Hunter's resignation from the Planning Commission.
I move to accept Skip Hunter's resignation from the Planning Commission. Second.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Prada.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Moving on to number two, to appoint Blake Peters to the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion?
I move to appoint Blake Peters to the Planning Commission, position number 1, to expire April 1st, 2027.
I second. Call the question.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Prada.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Number three, to accept Clayton Malmberg's resignation from the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept Clayton Malmberg's resignation from the Planning Commission.
I second.
Call the question.
Counselor Prada.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Number four, appoint Nicholas Chapman to the Planning Commission.
I move to appoint Nicholas Chapman to the Planning Commission, position number 7, to expire April 1st, 2027.
I'll second.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Prada.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Moving on to number five, accept Phoebe Paredes' resignation from the Budget Committee. Do I have a motion?
I move to accept Phoebe Paredes' resignation from the Budget Committee. I'll second.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Prada.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Item six, to appoint Curtis Lunsford to the Budget Committee. Do I have a motion?
I move to appoint Curtis Lunsford to the Budget Committee, position number 2, to expire February 1st, 2025.
I second.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Prada.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Moving on to D7, reappointment of Steve Kerr to the Parks and Recreation Commission.
I I move to reappoint Steve Kerr to the Parks and Recreation Commission in position number 1 to expire February 1st, 2026.
Second?
Counselor Pereira.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
We're almost through here. D8, to reappoint Jamie Armstrong to the Parks and Recreation Commission. Do I have a motion?
We'll move to reappoint Jamie Armstrong to the Parks and Recreation Commission in position number 4 to expire February 1st, 2026.
I second.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Pereira.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
And D9, to reappoint Julie Van Hoos to the Budget Committee.
I move to reappoint Julie Van Hoos to the Budget Committee in position number 1 to expire February 1st, 2027.
I second.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Pereira.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Good job.
Thank you, Kurt.
Yeah, for everyone on there, thank you very much. And moving on to City Council Agenda Item E, scheduled public appearance. Ryan Cooley from the Airport Economic Impact Update.
Mayor Hodges, council members, thank you so much for having me. My name is Ryan Cooley. I'm the airport director for the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority. That's the commercial air service airport that we have right down south in Crescent City, California, located quite near the border of Oregon. The Border Coast Regional Airport Authority consists of multiple JPA members, 6 JPA members from the various communities in our region, from Gold Beach all the way down to Klamath, California. So thank you all for having me here, and thank you for appointing Councilor Malmberg to the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority Board of Commissioners. We look forward to working with him in the future. So the reason I'm here tonight is over the past 2 years as airport director, I came to the realization that there hadn't been an economic impact study done for the airport in quite a while. And last year, when I started to go around to the different JPA members to discuss financial contributions towards economic development and infrastructure projects out at the airport that affect our region as a whole, there were questions that were coming back where people were asking, besides the airport and the commercial flights, what do we get out of it? So we had the economic impact study done, and I'm going to give you a really abridged version of it because I only have about 8 minutes left. But I will do my best to get through it quick enough to where I can answer any questions that you may have. So an airport economic impact study is an attempt to define the economic impact of an airport-dependent economic activity. I'm on page 2 here. Yeah, thank you. So the basic economic impact theory states that an economic activity has 3 impacts. So the airport has a direct impact, the measure of the jobs and spending at the airport. Indirect impact, that's the ripple effect of the economic activity beyond the airport, but resulting from the direct impact of the airport jobs, income, and spending. And then the induced impact, which is the 3rd level of impact, which measures economic activity generated by people and businesses benefiting from the indirect impacts. So the study was performed using what's called an in-plan economic impact software and data provided by the Airport, Department of Transportation data, and various data measuring Northwest California and Southwest Oregon visitor stay and spend behavior. This was done by our consultants, Valair Aviation Consulting. So I was not smart enough to put this study together. I actually had a consultant do it. But the in-plan 2022 Labor Department and Census Bureau data extrapolated to 2023 dollars for the purpose of this study. So the key areas of the economic activity that were measured included existing air service, visitors brought to the Border Coast region by local air service and general aviation, all non-airline but airport-dependent economic activity, and all airport and air service support functions, including airport administration, the FAA, and the TSA. Overall, the Delaware County Regional Airport, the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority, CEC, the airport designator, is an economic engine for the Border Coast area and surrounding region. The overall findings of the economic impact study is that there was a total estimated annual airport regional economic output of $22.6 million to our region between Curry County and Delaware County, respectively. On-airport economic impact via direct, indirect, and induced effect of 98.2 FTE jobs were $6.8 million in annual labor income and $20.4 million in annual economic output. Visitor by air local spending supports via direct, indirect, and induced effect 20.8 full-time equivalent jobs with $719,590 in annual labor income and $2.2 million in annual economic output. Combined airport and visitor by air economic activity supports in total 119 local FTE jobs with $7.5 million in annual labor income. Airport employment impact, the local air service sustains 15.5 on-airport FTE jobs with $710,854 in annual labor income. Non-airline on-airport operation sustains 40 FTE jobs with $4.55 million in annual labor income. In total, the airport sustains 55.5 on-field FTE jobs with $5.26 million in annual labor income, and this makes the airport by itself a significant regional employer between Curry County and Delaware County. The breakdown on the next slide basically shows that air service-related airport employment information that was just described under the key findings. I won't go into detail here. Same thing, key findings broken down in a chart for you. Same thing on the next page and the next page. All right, so the economic impact study, visitor by air data, estimates that 3,826 net visitors brought to the area by air service and 479 net visitors brought by general aviation or inbound charter flights. So applying the visit days and average daily spend profiles, resulting in an estimate of total annual visitor spend and an allocation of that spend among 5 categories of economic activity. So as you can see in the breakdown, dependent on inbound visitors, less 10% for study purposes, gives you our net visitors by data, by air data, and the total annual spend for the visitors who fly into our airport is $1,265,817. And you can see in the next section below, 32% of that is spent on lodging, 37% of that is spent on food and drink, 10% on recreation, 10% on retail, and 11% on transportation. So the summary for the economic impact study, visitor by air, is that the airline service is estimated to bring over 3,800 net annual visitors to the region. Airline visitors generate an estimated 10,329 visit days and spend $1.266 million locally between our 2 counties. Inbound charter flights and transient general aviation generate an estimated 479 net annual visitors. Charter and GA visitors generate an estimated 1,293 annual visitor days and spend $158,428 locally. So combined visitors by air sustain 20.7 FTE jobs with $719,590 in labor income and $2.2 million in economic output. Airline flight and cabin crew overnight visitors contributed $150,894 in annual local spending for lodging and other spending. And on the next page here, page 11, we just have the breakdown visitor by air summary. And now really quick, I'll go into our leakage and retention study, which basically shows from Port Orford down to Klamath where our potential passenger base are traveling and what they're utilizing to travel to, and our goals to capture some of that some of those travelers in the future. So as you can see on this map, from Port Orford to Klamath, California, our catchment leakage study for the 12 months ended March 31st, 2023 We looked at 6 California and 5 Oregon zip codes with 1,512 Airline Reporting Corporation tickets plus DOT data extrapolated to an estimated 143,013 annual passengers. Out of those 143,013 annual passengers, 88% of the total were international and 12% were, 88 were local and 12% were international. Medford captured 64% of that 143,000. Crescent City captured 12 and Eureka captured 10. So the Delaware County Regional Airport, the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority, we have a lot of opportunity to capture some of this market back and bring even more revenue back into our 2 counties, into our region. And then 13% of the catchment area drove all the way to the Bay Area for airport service. So on this next slide, it just kind of breaks down what we were talking about in terms of the percentages. What's really interesting about this is the top five airports in our area, our region, that our passengers fly out of. You've got Medford, Oakland, Arcata, Eureka, San Francisco, and Crescent City. Contour does not have interline relationships with any other carriers in Oakland, so Crescent City traffic connection distributed beyond Oakland is estimated below based on traffic distribution patterns at Eureka and Medford. So in this breakdown here, Oakland traffic is 21% of the travelers out of Crescent City. Southern California, Denver, Phoenix, and Las Vegas are the top markets in our area. And Oakland has limited international service. Actual Crescent City international travel may be larger, but there's no way for us to extrapolate that data. So the very important piece of information to glean from this is on the next slide, which is the fact that the LA Basin is collectively the #1 market with estimated 20,262 passengers paying an average fare of $151. This is important because starting on March 17th, 2024, our new airline to service our region is Advanced Air. Contour Airlines will not be continuing service to our region after March 16th, 2024, based on the votes of the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority, voting to move in a different direction for more opportunity for our region. Advanced Air, will be providing 7 flights a week to Oakland, like Contour does now, and Advanced Air will be offering 2 additional flights to the LA Basin on Sundays and Thursdays with increased traffic in the summer. And then as we move through the DOT, Alternate Essential Air Service Program, grant funding years, with more funding, we'll have more flights that are offered with the main goal of 5 flights a week to Los Angeles and 12 round-trip flights a week to to Oakland, California. So that's the goal over the next 4 years with Advanced Air. As you can see, with so many people driving from our region to Medford to fly to LA, that is a huge piece of real estate, if you will, that we can tap into and pull back. Because right now, a lot of people drive to Medford. I'm sure a lot of Brookings residents probably drive to Medford to fly. And with this new airline and their level of service, I'm confident that we will be able to pull those passengers back in, especially for $99 to Oakland and $159 to Los Angeles. That's a pretty good deal. I was hoping to have Mr. Levi Stockton, president and founder of Advanced Air, present with me tonight as well, but we need a little bit more time than the 10 minutes allowed. So we'll have him come and introduce his airline and introduce himself to you all in the future. So without anything else, if you guys have any questions, this is the first time I've ever been here, so if you have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Some people probably don't even realize that we have a commercial airline or airport in our backyard, so I want to make sure that we have that awareness because we want to keep that money local.
Really appreciate Ryan Cooley coming in and really looking forward to the improved service for our community, having 2 flights a week down to the LA area as well as the Oakland services that we've already become accustomed to, and sounds like moving forward in the next 4 years, looking to improve that even more. So I think that's a great benefit for our community.
Definitely.
My wife and my 14-year-old used that airport to go visit our oldest in San Francisco, and they've already got tickets for the new airline as well. although it wasn't $99.
So, yeah, so it just depends on how much time, you know.
No, I get it.
Or maybe they chose the refundable option.
Anyways.
Maybe I should have put the tagline as starting at or as low as.
And it's fine. I was just giving you a hard time.
No problem.
We appreciate the airport and the fact that it goes to Oakland. Of course, San Francisco's right there. For us, it's very convenient, but to LA, that's great. My only thought on that, it's Hawthorne Airport? Is that where
That's correct. So right now, if you were to fly into LAX proper, which Advanced has done in the past with another market, if you were to fly into LAX proper, little regional jet would fly out to one of those small remote little terminals. You'd have to wait for the terminal transportation to take you from that small terminal to the main terminal, and then you'd have to get from your main terminal to wherever, you know, your next gate is. In Hawthorne, you fly directly into Jet Center Los Angeles, which is where Advanced Airlines is based. Or Advanced Air, I got to stop calling them airlines. Advanced Air is based. You get off the plane, you get your bags, you walk right into the terminal, you grab your shuttle that you had booked right when you booked your flight reservation. They drive you to the ticket counter that you need. They're about 3 miles from LAX. And then you just go and check your bag, and you're on your way. Advanced Air has stated many times in the course of promoting this service that it's a lot quicker to do it that route than to go and wait for your bags. Because then not only do you have to go wait for your bags in LAX, which is probably a nightmare, you got to do that before you go and check in for your next flight. So it's actually going to be a quite expeditious process, and it keeps the costs down. So they're not having to pay all of the fees by flying into LAX. They can keep those ticket costs low.
And I just had one more question. And flying into Oakland with Advanced Air, do we still have to, when we're connecting, go all the way out and then back in?
Correct. So if you have to pick up your bag and then connect it with another carrier, yes. But I have been in talks with Advanced Air, and it is our hope through partnership and me hounding them constantly that they get an interline agreement in the future.
That would be great.
I think with my airline history, I think Alaska Airlines would be fantastic because you can not only catch your flights north, but you could also catch south or back east. So I think Alaska Airlines would be a great opportunity. But even if they were to select another carrier like Delta that flies into Oakland, California, that's better than what we currently have, which is there's no interline agreements at all.
Thank you.
Can I, one last thing really quick? So in hindsight, or in retrospect to the study, over the next 5 years, we have over $20 million in infrastructure improvements and economic enhancements out at the airport coming. We've got multiple runway projects coming up, taxiway projects, a new fuel farm. So the infrastructure out at the airport is going to be undergoing a lot of modernization here shortly. And the 5% match that the Border Coast Regional Airport Authority is going to have to come up with for all of those projects is a little over $1.2 million over the 5 years. And for a civil entity that's not a city or a county, that's quite a lot of money. So I will be coming back, in the future to work on partnerships and seeing what we can do to bring all JPA members together again to work on contributions towards these massive infrastructure projects that we're going to have going on. Because without everybody's support, there's no way that we're going to be able to get all of those done. So thank you.
Thank you. Next is item F on the agenda, oral requests and communications from the audience. Just as a reminder, on these, they're 5-minute limit. Please announce your name and your address. I have 2 sheets. So, okay. As I received them, the first one is from Julie Nelson, if she wants to come up.
Good evening. Thank you for seeing me. My name is Julie Nelson. I live at 410 Smith Drive. So I live right next to Fred Meyer's, between Fred Meyer and the ocean. It's a great neighborhood, but most of the residents are elderly and almost all of them use mobility devices. So sadly, the sidewalk is not equipped for ADA compliancy, and it's not equipped for these mobility devices. The sidewalks are either broken, they are non-existent, or they're not wide enough for wheelchairs. ADA says they have to be 36 inches, and they are not. So this is forcing all the elderly residents out into the street. The street is also very broken, very filled with potholes. I've seen people in wheelchairs, like they're electric ones, trying to go over the bumps and they're rocking as they're going. So it's not really usable for a car, and I don't think it's usable for wheelchairs or for people with walkers or canes. And then while this failing infrastructure is forcing the residents out into the street, there's also 0 street lights. There's no poles for street lights. There's absolutely no light. Once the sun goes down, it is pitch black out there, including we have, a lot of people have like driveway lights. Those don't go into the street. There's also plenty of wildlife. We have a bunch of deer, we have skunks, possums, and anything that can be hit by a car can be hit by a car out there. So what I'm asking for is a call to action of, I would like a plan or some sort of timeline to fix at least the road and the streetlights. I think those are the most important things, just because the sidewalks dip with the driveway, so I don't think there's really much ADA we can do there. But if we can get at least the streets corrected for people who need them, then I think that would be excellent. And I know that this is not a problem that's going to be solved overnight. I know it's not something that's going to be quick, but it is a problem that we, the residents, would like solved. I know last week ODOT came here with their carbon remission program, and I reached out to them and asked, and they said that Brookings has not asked for that plan yet, and they are thinking that it might be March 1st when the enrollment opens. So I'm hoping if we can get on that and get the carbon reduction streetlights, that would be also amazing. They told me that their ETA for that would be 2026. So if we can get something that's out there that's maybe a temporary before we get that, that would also be very nice. But basically, I'm just asking for a plan or a timeline for getting these roads fixed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, Michael Frederick.
Mike Frederick, 16883 Yellow Brick Road, Brookings. Here to talk about the TLT money again. I was at the workshop, whenever that was, last week, and it was a really nice presentation about the golf course and everything up there, and it sounded very promising, very hopeful, things coming along up there. There was a comment made at the time about perhaps TLT money going to help things at the golf course, and I just wanted to make sure that this new council was aware that the golf course did just get $50,000 out of that TLT money. For 5 years, $10,000 a year was being taken out of that very meager amount of TLT money that's available. I think that just wrapped up like a year or so ago. I would just hope that, and I have nothing against golf courses. 2 of my very best, oldest friends back in Minnesota are golf pros. It's beautiful out there, so I'm not against the golf course. But I would just hope that when looking at allocating the TLT money, and hopefully the TPAC will be a part of that process, you know, that this would be just taken into consideration and looking at all the different possibilities and directions you could go with it. And as for the TPAC, again, I really hope that there's a workshop on that soon, or some kind of movement on that. I think it's a great thing. I believe that the budget year for like the TLT money ends at the end of June, starts over in July, so it'd be great if there was a improved process for people trying to do things to promote the tourism here, get events and stuff going, could get in on that money before the end of the year. That's one little thing that I was thinking expediency might be a real nice thing there. Again, I want to mention the survey thing. I think it'd be great if there was a survey done with all the businesses that would be involved, the ones that collect the money, but also all the ones that are impacted, restaurants, hotels. Just find out, get their input. When do they feel they need the help? You know, when could it be best allocated to get the biggest bang for the buck out of it? And again, I'd be happy to help with that, distribute them or do whatever. And just want to recap slightly that the state says the TLT allocation should be 70% going back to promoting tourism. Brookings does 25%. Gold Beach does 77.9%. These numbers, you know, I hope that that you guys are willing to take a look at that and reconsider that a little bit, and really support the tourism. So, thank you.
Thank you. That is it for public comment. Moving on to consent calendar. So I'm going to just go through these each, and then we'll have the final vote. To approve council minutes for January 22nd, 2024, accept planning commission minutes for November 7th, 2023, approve liquor license for Hasco Stations LLC, and approve liquor license for Pete's Bar and Grill.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
My second?
Counselor Fulton,
Yes.
Counselor Pereira,
Yes.
Counselor Mullenberg,
Yes.
Counselor Martin,
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Okay, moving on to agenda item H, staff reports, public hearing, ordinances, resolutions, and final orders. Number 1 is the Love Your Fourth Fireworks Fund Management by the city. And I believe Henry will be up to present.
Hi, guys. I always forget how good-looking the city council is, especially when I come up asking for certain things. It reminds me every time. Especially the audience, they're also quite lovely.
Would you mind introducing yourself?
Sure.
I know everyone knows you, but
So I'm Henry Johnson. I'm with the Love Your Fourth Committee. I help to do a lot of community organizing and things like that through the area. Love Your Fourth is the fireworks show that we host down at the harbor every 4th of July. A little bit of background, obviously in 2020 with the COVID situation, there was no fireworks show. And I will tell you, the city got a lot of that blame, even though the city's never really been involved in fireworks. In 2021, again, there was no fireworks show. Again, there was a community outcry about it, again, with a lot of finger pointing, but not necessarily a lot of people raising their hands to help. So myself and a couple other volunteers stepped forward. And that first year, we basically started from ground zero. We raised approximately $70,000 with the goal of raising about $30,000 per year. We've always tried to be a year ahead of our fundraising so that we're never running around at the last second. I'll also tell you that we're able to negotiate a better price on fireworks and advertising, things like that, by not only having the money in the bank, but being able to negotiate at an earlier level than maybe some of our competing cities for that dollar, for that firework. So I'm here tonight because in 2022, there was some challenges between the Love Your Fourth volunteers and the prior city manager. And so we had to kind of sever ways and go in a different direction. So Harbor Fire was very kind to step up and help us as a home, as it were, to not only provide a nonprofit number, but also provide accounting legitimacy to our efforts. At this time, however, the upcoming fire chief would like to focus on fire and not necessarily fireworks. So which makes us, in essence, homeless for the 2024 and other years upcoming. So that being said, I reached out to Mayor Hodges and team about potentially coming back to our original home and working with the city to continue the fireworks show going forward. So in terms of what would that look like, specifically, we're looking for the city clerk to potentially collect any kind of funds that might come in, whether those are handed in to her from just members of the public or collected by the volunteers of the fireworks show and then given to her in trust to deposit under our account. We're looking for a link to be established on the city website, which is currently already there. So we'd like to continue that partnership. We're also looking for the city to sign off on the contracts. Obviously, the Love Your Fourth group will provide the money, but we're looking again for that legitimacy of the city of Brookings to be on the bottom of the contract. And then last but not least, we're looking for checks to be cut on that account. There's basically 3 checks that are cut. One is for advertising, one is for the fireworks, and then one is for a different form of advertising. Let me rephrase that. There's 3 checks. The first check is for local advertising. That's going to be banners and the local radio station. The second check is going to be for regional advertising. We have a tendency to focus on the Umpqua Valley, the Rogue Valley, and the Central Valley in California from about Redding north. And then the third spend would be on the fireworks themselves. The fireworks cost between $20,000 to $25,000 for the show. And then the advertising spend is actually a $10,000 commitment. It runs actually from basically the day after Memorial Day all the way through the end of July. And it's not so much talking about fireworks in the valley. What it talks about is beat the heat, come visit Brookings, come visit South Coast Oregon, things like that. Last year, we actually hit over 4 million people through that advertising in the valley. Now we hit an estimated 1.5 million people here on the South Coast through the advertising as well. So when you go and look at it from a net spend, we're basically hitting 100 people for every 15 cents, which is a huge return on investment in terms of the advertising world. I think it's fair to say the fireworks are a great event for our community, but not only that, but they're great for our tourism market as well. We had a 98% hotel occupancy rate for last year's 4th of July fireworks show, which was on a Tuesday. We exceeded over 100% for the 2022 year. So needless to say, it not only brings in dollars in our community, but it helps us celebrate as well. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. In essence, I'm looking to remarry with the city. I'm looking to use your guys' trust and facilities to help the fireworks show continue to put on a show this year and next year and the year after that. I can tell you that we've already raised $30,000 for this year's show. We raised that last year. But I've not done any fundraising yet for 2025 because right now I don't have a home and I don't want to go and commit to people about a fireworks show when I don't necessarily know where we'll be living or securing that money. Thank you. Questions?
There was some ideas as well about not just having colored fog.
That really hurts. So let's talk about that because I like colored lights, but there's a couple things that the fireworks show does that maybe we don't advertise or get enough credit for. The first thing is we actually use a lower volume firework, so it's not as loud. It doesn't have the concussion that a modern firework can have, or maybe what I grew up with back in the day. So it's a little bit more sensitive for pets and potentially veterans or things like that might have that kind of thing. In terms of the colored fog, if you're colorblind, it's just fog. But if you're not colorblind and there's an inversion layer that comes in, there is that risk. So one of the things we're looking at doing this year, and I don't have all the pricing on it yet, is that we're going to do a 2-stage show. And what I mean by that is right now the inversion layer gets to about 250 feet on average. So we're going to have one show that's focused on 250 feet or below. That way there'll always be something. And then the second show will be at elevation, anywhere between 250 to about 800 feet in height. Last year's show was the second biggest in all of Oregon. However, you saw about 1/3 of it because of that inversion layer. So I will also tell you 2022 was the second largest show in Oregon as well. And with continued success, we'll get bigger and bigger. But yes, that is our plan. So we'll see one show that'll be visible to everybody below 250 feet. And then we'll have a second show if the weather gods permit, where you'll be able to see that second half up above. So kind of a 1-2 punch just in case of the weather.
I just thought that was great when you brought it up, so.
I'm always trying to think of something new, but it's like, how do you control the weather without really big fans or, without, all those pieces? And that is our effort. We've talked a lot of different ways of doing it. We've talked about potentially moving it to like a New Year's Eve show rather than a 4th of July show because the weather's typically better. But, I think the 4th of July resonates better with our veterans. It resonates better with our local, population, and obviously resonates better with our tourism.
Any other comments, questions?
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a recommendation if anyone would like to tonight, or it can continue to be discussed. But Henry is here tonight if we wanted to address that, or if we felt comfortable. I will say that, and just doing it tonight, I will say that we being Chief, City Manager, myself, Henry, and Lou, who was our Finance Director, and she was, unless things have changed, I understand, she was very agreeable once she found out the specifics that Henry had brought, that those extra duties would not be too overwhelming for her. And so that was personally my biggest concern was, who it affects and if they had the bandwidth for it. And it sounds like when all was said and done that we do, so.
I personally think it's a great thing, and I'm excited to be asked. I'm excited by the efforts that you guys put in. And so personally, I would like to authorize that the city departments maintain the donated money, pay on the contracts, and related to the firework display, and assist in the placement of roadside banners for the fireworks display.
Second.
Call the question?
Counselor Paredes.
Yes.
Counselor Mullenberg.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Moving on then to agenda item H2, city manager recruitment contract, and I'll leave that to our city manager.
Thank you. As a review, last Monday, the 5th, at a city council workshop, the council reviewed city manager recruitment companies, which included Lane Council of Governments, Prothman, WBCP, and Columbia Limited for hiring a permanent city manager. There were several things that stood out to the council about Prothman, such as their depth of experience with numerous executive position placements that they've completed for both municipal and county governments in Oregon. Number of government entities in Oregon and Washington who have been repeat customers for other executive positions, as well as executive placements in like-size coastal and nearby towns. Prothman was also one that offered a 12-month guarantee that if for any reason during those 12 months the person who had been placed in that position left or was terminated, that Prothman, for no professional fee, would then go through another hiring process. Because of those several things that stood out to the council, as well as Prothman being the second lowest proposal, the council did ask that I reach back out to Prothman and bring this to the council today for council approval. I did speak with them again and received from them a contract, which is includes the scope of work from the original proposal. So they took their scope of work from that proposal, and that's what they make for the contract, which is attached here. Sonia Prothman, who is the owner and head recruiter, did sign that. There were some things that she said, if the council does choose to vote to have me sign this, there are a couple things that she would need to know as far as the first meeting. The two things would be, how soon would the council like to meet? And then would they like to meet on that first one in person or by Zoom? There are several other questions that would come up later as far as meeting locations and frequency, but the initial thing that would have to be decided would be how far out, or as soon as possible. I did ask them if the council tonight were to decide and vote to accept Prothman's contract, how far out? How soon could we get someone down here physically? They had said they would be able to work their schedule and have someone down next week, or by Zoom, possibly a little bit sooner. There's nothing that they would commit to until they found out first if they were chosen, and then secondly, for their scheduling, whether by Zoom or in person. That would also then, they have that range of the expenses, and that would also then decide on the range, would affect the range of expenses. In person certainly costs much more because of travel costs than meeting by Zoom. They do say that they recommend 3 meetings. The first and third they recommend as in person, but the first can be by Zoom. The third one they say should only be done in person. And that's when you actually discuss the final candidates and the final questions and moving into that interview process, which they'll assist with. The second one is a discussion over finalists, and they said that that can be in person, but quite often is done by Zoom. So of those 3 meetings, there's one that they say for certain should be done in person, but they also recommend the first one to be done in person just to kind of get a good feel of the council and their direction and what their requests are, as well as the council having that opportunity to actually talk with the recruiting group and make sure that their goals and their focuses are clear.
How many would travel if it was an in-person meeting? Do you know that?
I do not know that. I'll find out, but I don't know right now.
It's not that important, just curious if they mentioned, because obviously that would affect costs probably, but.
Certainly.
Personally, I think we need to move forward as quickly as we can. We think we all want to start moving forward, and we don't want to tie up Chief McRae any longer than necessary. So I'm of the mind personally that we move right forward. I do think that the in-person meeting, there's always just, even with my experience in walking through the interview process, I think there's a very different ability to communicate through Zoom. So my recommendation personally, and preference personally, would be that we do that first meeting in person.
I concur that as well.
Did the city attorney review the contract, and was she comfortable with it?
She did look at there, and there was nothing that was brought up.
Any other discussion?
No, I agree with everything that Phoebe said. I think we need to move forward as expeditiously as possible to move forward with getting a permanent full-time city manager, and this process can sometimes take some time, so the sooner we get on it, the better outcome it'll be for the city. And again, really appreciate Chief McRae, but sometimes, doing 2 jobs has its limits, so we want to try to minimize that. Sooner the better.
Well, I'll make a motion to authorize the interim city manager to sign the city manager recruitment contract with Kaufman.
I second.
Call the question?
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Pareda.
Yes.
Counselor Mulford.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. On to the discussion about the first meeting, whether it's on Zoom or in person. Does that need to be a voted on? No, we're agreeing to the costs with the expenses that are sort of in that variable. So I would assume that that's just sort of more of just it doesn't need to be voted on, but just a decision that's a majority decision.
I believe so. And in talking with them several times, I feel comfortable that with the variables that are there, that we would be able to keep it under that $25,000. And I went through them with several scenarios and was able to get feedback from them on the exact costs and some of those costs that are in there, but don't feel necessarily that will either be used or will add up to much past that bottom range. So I feel comfortable that with that first one in person, even if the second one is in person, that we would still be below that cap.
Okay. Well, I'm the odd person out on that. I do Zoom so much, I'm just used to it, but if everyone wants in person, I wouldn't be against it. Okay, so back to my agenda here. And then agenda item H3, which is the interim city manager compensation. I don't really want to make our city manager / chief feel weird, so I'll take this one. So essentially, just as a reminder to everyone, we discussed this and at the city council meeting January 22nd of '24. Council requested that an agenda item regarding interim city manager Kelby McRae's compensation be placed on the council agenda. After speaking with the mayor and councilor, compensation of 20% more than that his current position as the director of public safety was proposed, retroactive to January 16th of 2024 when he stepped into the dual role. This additional compensation would be effective through his last day in his interim position. I don't know if there was further discussion related to that. We're open for that. If not, I'll move that we authorize the interim city manager, Kelby McRae's compensation of 20% more than his current position as Director of Public Safety, retroactive to January 16th of 2024, effective through his last day as interim city manager.
I'll second. Go ahead.
Second.
Counselor Fulton.
Yes.
Counselor Prada.
Yes.
Counselor Malmberg.
Yes.
Counselor Martin.
Yes.
Mayor Hodges.
Yes.
The motion carries.
And then just non-action item, we have the January 2024 vouchers. All right, discussion there. Then last on the agenda, remarks from councilors, city manager, myself. Floor's open.
I just wanted to thank and show my appreciation for those who have not only been on some of these commissions that we sort of expeditiously ran through these appointments and resignations, but really appreciate the level of involvement. People are willing to commit their time for the betterment of their city, and really appreciate the people who have served, and also really appreciated the people that are planning on serving. I had the opportunity to sit with the mayor for a couple of the nominations for people who had volunteered to be on the Planning Commission. I think they're going to be great additions to the Planning Commission. And anyway, I don't want to kill it too much, but anyway, just wanted to say thanks and recognize people for that.
Thank you goes out to Julie and Michael, Ryan, and Henry for your communications tonight and just letting us get to know your thoughts. Thanks also goes out to Officer Lucero, who I was privileged to tag along on a ride-along over the weekend, so I was able to learn a lot about her role here in the community. Her demeanor and her professionalism was just so high. It was really great to see how she works with members of our community, and I just can't say enough about her, so thank you for allowing me to go along with her on that. And I also encourage our residents to please reach out and email me on any issues that are out there. I mean, I want to hear more voice from our community. I would love to hear what you're passionate about, or it just gives me a lens to be able to help look through and to see what the community as a whole wants to see here in Brookings. So just encourage you to contact me.
I just have a brief comment. Thanking Chief McRae again for stepping in the interim role and for guiding the city through this transition. I know it's been a lot of work for him, and it's been a lot of work for the entire city staff, and especially the department directors and the chief. So thanks for the above and beyond work for the last several weeks.
I just second all of those comments. I am too grateful for all those who are willing to give input and get involved and work so hard to the betterment of our city.
I agree. Just off of Councilor Mulburn's comments, I had the same thing written down. Thank you to everyone on those committees who had volunteered or is currently volunteering or is now moved from a committee to up here still volunteering. So thank you for everyone on that list. And also to our community volunteers especially. Great job. And you know, I can only imagine the amount of hours that goes into some of these activities. You know, Henry comes up and discusses the 4th of July, and I know that the amount of time he puts into that is more than I could probably imagine. So everyone that volunteers, picking on Henry, but everyone, thank you so much. And then I wanted to just really touch on another thing that had been weighing heavy on me from the last workshop. And we had if you were there, you know, if you weren't, it was a long workshop. And we had a really important, all of it was very important. But at the end, there was a proposal for a redefined camping ordinance for the city. And, you know, there was a lot of discussion there. And I just want to, you know, reinforce the fact that a lot of work went into that. And we sort of pulled it back, and it was looked at again, and I know a lot of input has been put into that since then, but everyone that put time and energy into that, I just want to make sure that they know we really appreciate it. It's frustrating to come forward with all that work and then have a bunch of city councilors or whoever sort of pick it apart, and at the end of that, I really I feel that, and so I just want to make sure that everyone knows the time and energy that went into that. We respect a lot, but there was just a lot of concerns as well. So with that, I also want to just add what I took out of it. It was 8-9 pages, I think. It was a lot. And what I took out of that is we, as the city council specifically, really need to be able to give our city employees, our police force, and our community a real resource in dealing with some of the more difficult aspects of what we deal with. And a lot of that is, you know, the camping that's illegal, and then all the aspects that come along with that. And so I really, again, I don't come with answers today necessarily, but I do come with, you know, just a statement stating we will be here dealing with these difficult areas, and we're not going to ignore them. We're not going to avoid them. We're going to address them. There will probably not be any perfect answers. There will not be any answers necessarily the whole community is going to agree with, and I just, you know, we know that, but we're gonna work to do what's best, and that's really at the end of the day the goal, to do what's best. And so it will be a difficult road. And I lay all that as a groundwork for, I understand, and I received from emails after the workshop that we're talking about, here's one statement, well, if there's any adjustment to the ordinance, we're going to sue, you know, or to bring a lawsuit against the city. I just want to be clear that we're really trying to move forward with some answers. That doesn't help. So let's have a dialogue. Again, it's about you know, doing what's right, and so sometimes in doing what's right, you don't always get the answer you want, but that doesn't mean you need to threaten to sue or these other things. Come to the table. Councilor Fulton just said, you know, she said, email me. You know, there's ways to communicate, and I think that is the productive way to deal with these things. Idle threats and things, they really aren't. And we have, you know, a lot of that going on, and our society's got a lot of litigation that seems to come up. And I think we can set a framework within the city of Brookings to change that. And then we can move it to the county, to the state, to the federal government. I don't think it starts at the top. I think it starts here. And then we work our way up. And we have difficult conversations, and they're not fun, but we have them, and we make decisions, and we move forward, and we might make a mistake, and then we got to go back and readdress it, but we continue to move forward. And so I just, tonight, I want to lay that out there in a gentle way, hopefully, because I think as we move forward, it's going to become a little bit more difficult. And the discussions will become a little bit more raw, but we're still a community, and we can stick together through them and bring some answers out of all of it. So anyways, that was my 2 cents for tonight. Anyone else? All right, well, meeting's adjourned at 8:06.